Hello and welcome to Calls. This is the 2023 Shriners DFS Tactics show. We've got quite a bit to get into, but before I forget, if you have not seen, Davis Riley has withdrawn. That might have happened yesterday, but Davis Riley is out. Harrison Endicott is in. So that is the one field change that I am aware of. If you are aware of others, please put it in chat or in the comments after the show. But like I said, we got a lot to get into, a couple of data models to talk about, including the Korn Ferry Tour grads, and a very spicy lineup that I've been toying around with. The two most projected owned players, two of the three most expensive. You can guess who I'm talking about. But yet, I think you can find ways to be unique, and you don't have to go into the 6Ks. So stick around to the end of the show. You won't want to miss that. But let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from fantasynational.com. It is the best tool out there. It is going to make you a much smarter gambler and a much better DFS player. Go check them out. In the description, there are links to all of my social media, Twitter, Instagram, Discord server, and Twitch. I will be posting my betting card to Twitter at the end of the show, probably a little bit later tonight. I still have to finalize my own DFS lineups and get those in, but my betting card will be out on Twitter. A reminder that Twitch, I am going to be live Friday, will not be on tomorrow. Generally speaking, I'm up so late on a Wednesday finalizing the show and getting all of my DFS in that I just sleep through Thursday morning. But I will be on Friday morning right around 10:30 a.m. looking at some of the metrics from the ownerships, analyzing lineups, doing showdown content. That was the beginning of that last week. So if you want to see some of that showdown material, come jump in and join over on Twitch. Obviously, we won't be able to do the Friday morning showdown lineup, but we definitely can get the Friday PM showdown lineups in. And then lastly, I need to give some credit to longtime viewer P. He reached out and let me know that my Discord server link had expired. So there is a new one out in the description of this show, in my description of the channel, all of that stuff. So hopefully that link is working now. I'm pretty new to Discord, but thank you to P for letting me know that and being the guinea pig. I really do appreciate that. But I think that is all for an intro. So let's figure out our strategies and tactics for the 2023 Shriners. And we start with Windfinder. And this is let the camera get focused. I'm not in witness protection, P. This has been based on the feedback, the way the community wants to see wind data. So we'll start with Windfinder, and there doesn't look to be much. There really doesn't look to be much. Maybe picking up in the afternoon, which that's common, and then Friday afternoon looks like it has more than Friday morning. Again, very common. I don't see an AM PM favor here. Maybe slightly the Thursday PM, but I'm not factoring it into my rankings. And to be honest with you, this is the only time that I think Fantasy National would even classify it as moderate. So, with that, your top 10 strokes gained total players in calm wind since the beginning of 2022. Those players are Patrick Cantley, Brian Harmon, Max Homa, Troy Merritt, Party Marty Laird, Jason Day, Tom Kim, Seamus Power, Cam Davis, and JT Poston. A lot of the higher priced guys here in this top 10, but based on the feedback, you all wanted to see wind data by itself, not have me factor it into the mixed condition models, and I feel like that's best as well. So there is what I am thinking is going to be a calm wind tournament, at least through the cut, and that's what we're focused on, is getting 6 of 6 through the cut. So with that, let's move on over to the full field mixed condition model. A bit of the same setup of a show as last night. I'll show you, or last Wednesday for the Sanderson Farms. I'm going to show you the full field mixed condition model. Then I'll bring up the Korn Ferry Tour ranking, Korn Ferry Tour Grad rankings, talk about the differences in the models, and then we'll go straight into the full-on ranking. So we talked all week about how, one, this course is easy, and two, how important birdies are getting here, or how important it is to get birdies and eagles, birdies or better. So 15% of the data model in that metric. 15% in total procs. We saw that at the end of the show Monday night, that it looked to be the most prevalent in terms of any kind of proximity, greens, fairways, all that kind of stuff. I am just pretty headstrong here that proximity is going to be the main focal point of iron play this week, other than the obvious strokes gain approach. So 15% in total procs, 15% in strokes gained par 5s. These par 5s will measure anywhere from 500 to 650. There is one that's above 600, but it will fall into the 550 to 600. And the two 550 to 600s will fall into the 500s. They're the 500 to 550. So instead of focusing on a specific range, I just went ahead and did all par 5s. More than likely, the majority of the time, they're going to fall into the 550 to 600. So if you want to narrow your focus, I wouldn't disagree, although I wouldn't put 15% in just strokes gained par 5, 550 to 600. If you wanted to split out, say maybe 5% in that specific range, maybe even 10%, but I'm just going to do 15% in strokes gained par 5, 10% strokes gained approach, 10% in bent putting. We talked throughout the week how I'm not comfortable putting a speed filter on these greens. Last year, they were every round, they were average. 2 years and 3 years ago, they were fast. So it's been a mix. So I just wanted to look at pure bent putting. 10% in par 4s, 5% in off the tee, and I settled on using the easy to par filter. A lot of it being that some players will approach courses completely different if they know that they have to go low. And we looked at this Tuesday on Twitch, yesterday morning on Twitch, how some of the players really rose or fell depending on if you added the easy filter or not. So I have 5% in strokes gained off the tee when it is easy. 5% in eagles. Talked through Monday night. I convinced myself on air that eagles are going to be important. 5% in proximity 200 plus. And this is my, I can't call it a hedge. This is a hunch. This is my, hopefully, statistic that leads to a lot of success where I'm differing from the rest of the community, rest of the pundits, if you will. These par 5s are so important. You have to attack them. Means you're going to be going for the green in 2. So if you're setting yourself up for eagles, then by definition your 200 plus will be good. You would think, unless you're putting the daylights out. So you can see how a lot of this entwines with each other. The strokes gained par 5, eagles, procs 200, all of it intermingled works toward the same outcome. It just depends on your preference on where the percentages are. So this is a bit of my gut call, if you will, putting 5% in Prox 200, 5% in strokes gained par 3. They are important for the winners, but that's about it. And then I did split out 5% for the par 4s, 400 to 450. There you go. So there is a look at the full field data model. Let's move on over to my Korn Ferry Tour Grad rankings. And a lot of these metrics are similar with the exception of a couple. So right off the bat, birdies are better, 20%, easy to par. So I just added 5% because we don't have the 5% in Prox 200 plus. We don't have the 15% for total Prox. So I had 20% to play around with a little bit. So 20%, birdies are better gained, easy to par. Straight, 15% over strokes gained par 5, so brought that straight over. I did add strokes gained total easy to par. So instead of looking at something like off the tee, approach, which we don't get that data, I did want to see who played easy courses or when a round was easy on the Korn Ferry Tour. Which of these guys lit it up when it was easy? Some players are better when it's difficult. Look at Keith Mitchell. Whereas some players are better when it's easy. Cam Davis is better when it's easy. So Cam Champ, better when it's easy. So I did want to see that. 10% strokes gained total bent. I've talked throughout the fall portion of the schedule. For the Korn Ferry Tour, we don't have putting statistics. So the best I can do is strokes gained total bent. Is this a direct correlation with putting on bent? Absolutely not. It's just the best I can do. So 10% strokes gained total bent, 10% in the par 3s and 4s, 5% in the eagles, and 5% in the 400 to 450 par 4s. Now, I did add 5% on good drives and greens when it's easy. So I'm really, really leaning into the easy narrative. It is the Shriners has been easy for the past 4 to 5 years. I'm thinking it's going to be the same, especially with no wind. And I did not have these two in the full field model. So that is one way where the full field model will lose. I know the vision's skewed, but I don't have any greens. I don't have any good drives. That is a portion of the data that I will be cold to, that I will lose if good drives and greens matter. So I did include 5% each for the Korn Ferry Tour guys. P, thanks for jumping in chat. You might have missed the intro. I suggest you go back and catch that after the show. You were referred to as a guinea pig, and I thanked you for it regarding the Discord stuff. So hopefully that link worked. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. But thanks for jumping in chat like you always do. Hope your week has went well. So anyway, there is a look at the Korn Ferry Tour mixed condition model, essentially. And my rankings go as follows. Taylor Montgomery, Augusto Nunez, Justin Suh, Austin Eckroat, Ye Chun Yuan, Carl Yuan. I'm using his full name as what Fantasy National has. But this is Carl Yuan, Marty Doe, Robbie Shelton, Michael Kim, and Davis Thompson. So right off the bat, I'm back on the Nunez train. He did not perform well last week. He shot -3 the first round and then went +2 and missed the cut on the number. And he was a lot lower in my rankings last week. He is all the way up to number 2 this week in terms of Korn Ferry Tour grads. And it all is around the easy metrics again. That's not easy. I really leaned into the easy last week. Well, and the bent. I highlighted bent, sorry. But I really leaned into the easy metric for the Sanderson Farms. And while 2 rounds did play easy, those 2 rounds were on the weekend. The first and second round played average. So his rankings, his numbers would have fallen even further had the whole tournament been average and whatnot because he didn't make the weekend to where these easy metrics would have come into play. So I am back on the Nunez train. It is a dangerous game to play again. He's at 6,300. I'm willing to take a gamble. I have a top 20 bet on him again. The analytics say he should be good, and if he fails this week, then I know not to play Augusto Nunez for a while. But otherwise, I mean, Taylor Montgomery, what's there to say? He's been very, very good. Justin Suh, very good. Austin Eckroat. I'm very, very intrigued by Carl Yuan this week and Marty Doe this week. Those two I'm going to be considering in a lot of my lineups. Justin Suh and Augusto Nunez, both, they don't have a bad statistic. Now, Justin Suh is elite at a lot more than Nunez is. I mean, he's second in the par fives, first on bent, first in par fours and greens. Like, Justin Suh's very, very good at a lot. Probably because the highest metric here, he is 30th, whereas Nunez is 4th. Probably how it happened, but you can see Suh's just got a lot of very good things going for him of the metrics here at the Sanderson Farms. So I'm going pretty much down to Robbie Shelton in terms of considerations. Shelton is interesting as well. Like, he's got two bad stats, the par fours and greens. But these greens are so easy to hit. They're so large. Does that really matter? I don't know. Robbie Shelton's number 2 on bent, number 3 in the par threes. He gets eagles. So I'm curious about Robbie Shelton as well. So I am down to about the top 8 or so in Korn Ferry Tour Grads, where I have been maybe the top 5 or so. Now that these guys are starting to get some rounds on the PGA Tour, I'm starting to get a better picture of what courses fit them and whatnot, at least by their early sample sizes. So there's a look at my Korn Ferry Tour Grad ranks. The one player that I am cautious or I'm wary about because he's so low, I really think S.H. Kim is going to be pretty good this week. He's made the cut in both of the events that he has played, including last week. He was a top 15. The first event of the year, he was a middling finish. Like, he's played very well. The metrics don't like him, probably because he didn't play the easy courses on the Korn Ferry Tour the best. Easy. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of good statistics when it's easy. Par fours, fantastic. Par fives, fantastic. Seems like a pretty good combination there. I think S.H. Kim is somebody to consider this week. Just because of the rankings, I'm not going to, but that's probably going to be a mistake. I suggest you look at S.H. Kim. I'm not advocating you use him, but take a look at him. Anyway, so there is a look at my Korn Ferry Tour Grad ranks. Let's move on over to the full field rankings. And I have already sorted this by price. So let me reset it here very quickly for you. And it's important to note while I'm doing this, the beginning of the season and even last week, I have talked about how I am going to keep these Korn Ferry Tour Grads in a vacuum. I'm not going to consider their early sample size, and yet unintentionally, fully admitted, unintentionally, I built this data model and then realized, oh shit, the data's through the Sanderson Farms. So you'll see Taylor Montgomery really, really high because he's played extremely well. So a bit of a mistake on my end, but it is consistent with all of the players in the field. So I'm going to leave it as it is. And starting next week's tournament, I probably will just do a full field rankings. Having said that, I'm still going to do Korn Ferry Tour Grad research and rankings. It'll just be on Twitch exclusively. But I did want to point this out. that this tournament there is the Fortinet and Sanderson Farms data in here. Again, just pointing it out. But anyway, my top 10, when you factor in the analytics, the previous course performance, percent owned, everything, my full-on top 10: Patrick Cantlay, Sung Jae, Aaron Wise, Cam Davis, Emiliano Grillo, JT Poston, Michael Gligic, Taylor Pendrith, Mark Hubbard, and Chesson Hadley. The first 3 weeks of this entire fall season, Michael Gligic has been in the top, I think, 11. And I don't understand why. The metrics love him. I don't. I know he's getting helped a little bit by the low percent owned. So that's what's bringing him up a little bit in the rankings. He has played this course fairly well, so that's bringing him up as well. But this appears to be another Brian Stewart situation, and P, longtime viewer, can tell you about the Brian Stewart effect of how he was in the 6Ks and seemingly in the top 15 on every data model last fall. Some of it was good, a lot of it wasn't. But for whatever reason, the metrics really like Michael Gligic. I'm not there, just not there. But anyway, so Michael Gligic, I'm quite wary of. Chesson Hadley, although he has played okay this fall, and a lot of his metrics are getting better. Now, he is not good at the par fives, which is an issue here at the Shriners. He has not been great off the tee, but we looked through it on the Data Dive show. Par fours, he was number 1. He was very good at the 400 to 450 par fours. He's number 4 in strokes gained approach. Sorry, that's really getting cut off bad, isn't it? Sorry, I'll scroll over for you. Like Chesson Hadley, like I mentioned, number 1 in strokes gained par 4. He's number 5. Damn it, one couple more. Number 5 in the 400 to 450 par 4s. Like, and a lot of people like, 7% in the under 6 or under 7K is pretty high. So, he's not getting ignored by any means. He's played this event extremely well. So, seeing him 10th is a bit too high for my liking. But I can understand why, because of the formula. The metrics are pretty good. He's played this course very well. He's got fairly low ownership. But there's my top 10. Now let's go through the price board here, and I need to resort this. Sort. Or just the smallest. Okay, so let's go through a little of this price board here. There are 3 10Ks, including 1 in the 11s. You'll see who I'm the most down on very quickly. So in the 10Ks plus, you got Patrick Cantlay, Max Homa, Sung Jae. 2 of these go 1-2. So I'm a little lukewarm on Max Homa. His irons, again, have not been the best. His President's Cup was mediocre at best. I don't know. He's great on bent. He's great putting on bent, sure. Again, it's getting cut off. I apologize, but he's great on putting on bent. Top 10 in par fives. There's a lot to like. It's just, you can't argue with Patrick Cantlay averaging essentially a 4th place finish. You can't argue with Sung Jae, the defending champion, who's got 3 top 15s in his 3 tries here. It just seems like those 2 are heads and tails above Max Homa. So I've got it, even though he is the most expensive, I've still got Patrick Cantlay number 1, Sung Jae number 2, Max Homa number 3 in the 10Ks. Moving to the 9s, it goes Aaron Wise, Tom Kim, Taylor Montgomery, Emiliano Grillo, Cam Davis, Alex Noren, and Tom Hoge. Well, one player I'm just extremely out on is Alex Noren. Metrics don't like him. Really, the only thing he has going for him is this putting on bent, and he loves putting on bent. So if you want to go with that narrative, Alex Noren is somebody you need to consider. But he does not have a whole lot else going for him. This is Eagles. It's getting cut off the tee. Par 4 is bad. Prox 200 plus is really bad. It's off the screen. His approach has not been good. I'm just not there with Alex Noren. Otherwise, I think most of these guys are fine. They are wildly popular, so it's going to be hard to gain any uniqueness out of here. Surprisingly, Taylor Montgomery is the lowest projected owned. Like Aaron Wise is fine. He always rates out well in my model. He's my FOMO. So I'm always going to have a win ticket on Aaron Wise until he wins. Tom Kim, what's there to say? He is fantastic. President's Cup really showed out. Griot was right there last week. Couldn't close the deal. Tom Hoge is fine. Like, he has a lot of the proximity metrics. Par fours, good. Strokes gained approach, good. The putting will always scare you with Tom Hoge. His off the tee has been bad. He doesn't really go low with eagles. He can get birdies, but he really doesn't get eagles, and that could hurt this week. So Tom Hoge has enough question marks that he is quite clearly the second lowest to Alex Noren. But I want to highlight Cam Davis. I think this is a Cam Davis type course. He plays easy events very well. So 10th in birdies or better when it's easy. You have Cam Davis go up to, gosh dang it, 23rd and off the tee when it's easy. The guy lights it up. He gets eagles. He attacks par fives. He's very good at par fives, so his 200 plus proximity is great. He's good enough at the par threes. Like, there's a lot here for Cam Davis. And I'm not saying he's Scotty Scheffler. Understand what I'm saying here. Scotty Scheffler played in the Ryder Cup, had a fantastic Ryder Cup that vaulted him to an excellent year. I see a lot of similarities with Cam Davis in the sense that he had a fantastic President's Cup. He has the talent. He has already won on tour, something Scotty Scheffler couldn't say at that point. I expect some good things from Cam Davis in the near future. It could start this week. I like Cam Davis a lot. It stinks that he's 15.5%, but I mean, he's there with Griot. He's less than Tom Kim. He's right there with Aaron Wise. Like, I really, really like Cam Davis this week, which means you should avoid him at all costs. But for me, I'm probably going Cam Davis number one. This is tough. Like, Aaron Wise and Tom Kim, probably 2A, 2B. Montgomery and Griot are fantastic plays. I mean, they're all so widely owned. It's just going to be hard to get uniqueness unless you're willing to go really against the grain with Alex Noren, which I'm not. 8Ks, Brian Harmon, again, Riley has withdrawn. So Harmon, Taylor Pendrith, Siwoo, Dean Burmester, Denny McCarthy, JT Poston, Christian Bezaid-Newt, Maverick McNeely, and Keith Mitchell. You're getting a lot of your fellow contestants ignoring this range. Maybe with the exception of Taylor Pendrith. And how we talked about it's hard to get uniqueness in the 9Ks, this is where I've been going. I might not have the upper echelon, Cam Davis, Aaron Wise, Tom Kim, that kind of elite upside, but I mean, you're going to tell me Taylor Pendrith can't win a tournament? He's come close 3 times. Siwoo's won before. I talked all week about how I like Dean Burmester. He rates out extremely well in my data model. He's only at 7.5%. Denny McCarthy has played this event pretty darn well. He's very good at the par fours. He's good at the par fives. And we all know about his putting prowess. I think Denny McCarthy should be good this week. The metrics say JT Poston should be good. I would think he should be good this week based on the easy narrative, because I played the easy narrative last week with the Sanderson Farms and it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So I think JT Poston should be useful. I'm out on McNeely. I'm out on Mitchell. We talked about them this week. Bezaid-Newt, I mean, he is the number one putter on bent. So, okay, but I'm just not there. I like Brian Harmon quite a bit, and I like Dean Burmester in the 8Ks. That's where I've been getting a lot of my uniqueness. Now, Brian Harmon, he's better when it's difficult, and that is an issue. That's why he's 100th. And birdies are better when it's easy. His proximity, total prox, is fantastic. He's very good at the par fives. He doesn't get a lot of eagles, which he could fall behind here, but he's very good at his par fives because he's not long, so he knows he just has to play his game and make him a 3-shot hole. Strokes gain approach, very good. He's good at the par fours, which is getting cut off, of course. Like putting, could be an issue. I don't think he's this bad of a putter. I don't know. I've got a gut feeling on Brian Harmon that he'll be pretty good this week, but I'm just highest on Dean Burmester. I love Dean Burmester this week. A couple of things that could be issues, sure, approach. The one that's getting cut off here is putting on bent, but he doesn't have a lot of rounds, so that's a little bit of a small sample size. But he's played the par fives extremely well. Scroll over here, like par fours, he's been good. Off the tee, he's been good. Eagles. There's a lot to like here with Dean Burmester, so I'm going to fire up some Dean Burmester this week. McCarthy should be fine posting. All right, moving into the sevens. I don't want to. There's too many to just go through here, so I'll highlight a few. Thomas Detry, again, I like, but very popular. I'm kind of out on Mito. A lot of people seem to be playing him. I'm lukewarm at best with him. Let's see. Hadwin, if you want to believe in the putting, like Alex Noren. Taylor Moore, again, I like, but I don't like the ownership. Nick Hardy is somebody that's fairly interesting. I think he played fairly well last week. I'm going to have to cheat. Yeah, top 5. I forgot. Yeah, top 5. I think Nick Hardy will be useful this week. He's played this event one time, so that's what's killing his number here. I think Nick Hardy's just fine. Let's see, Mark. This is the one I don't understand. Mark Hubbard was in the 9,000s last week. He top 5s and he drops to 7,400 in pricing. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. He is very popular. This is chalk I will eat. Just does not make sense on why Mark Hubbard dropped that much in pricing. He is top 20 in total procs. He's number 2. Well, now my big head's in the way. Number 2 in strokes gained approach in this field with Sungjae and Patrick Cantlay, Cam Davis, Tom Kim, all these players. He's number 2 in strokes gained approach. Putting is 21st. Par 4s is top 20. Top 20 in par 3s. Top 5 in the par 4s from 400 to 450. I don't understand why he's this low in price at 7,400. He's not going to be unique if you use him. Don't care. I don't understand how. The only way you're not using Mark Hubbard is if you want him to be unique. Especially at 7,400, he's just saving you a lot in pricing than somebody that I think should be at least in the 8Ks. Just my take. A couple others here that I want to highlight, like Andrew Putnam, popped on a lot of the filters and metrics we talked about throughout the week. There's S.H. Kim that I mentioned, 7,200. Really take a look at him. Adam Svensson. He's only played this event, and he might have played it 3 times. I thought it was 2, but maybe 3. He goes low. He goes low when it's easy. He's another one of these Cam Davis types. His irons are good. He putts bent very well. His off the tee is lackluster when it's easy. He can get a little wayward. But something's speaking to me about Adam Svensson. I kind of like Adam Svensson this week. Hayden Buckley, I'm really high on. Very, very high on. He's just played this event extremely well. Par 5s, very good. Approach, 32nd. It's good. Now the putting is bad. That's fair. It's a 111 here. But he's top 5 and off the tee when it's easy. He's top 5 in eagles since the Memorial. There's a lot to like with Hayden Buckley. I like him a lot. There's Robbie Shelton I talked about in the Korn Ferry Tour rankings. Again, Harris English. Do you believe the health is back? Like the talent, he's clearly talented enough. Do you think the health is back? Callum Tarrant, 10%. I'm really high on Callum Tarrant again this week, but a lot of others are. Lee Hodges, a lot of people are on as well. I like Lee Hodges and Callum Tarrant. Grayson Sigg is somebody I want to highlight. There's Callum Tarrant. There's Lee Hodges. I want to highlight Grayson Sigg. It's only at 4.5% owned, 19th in the analytics, 18th overall. Top 25 in birdies or better when it's easy. Top 15 in total procs. So that right there, the two most important metrics, or two of the three most important metrics he's top 25 in, that's a good start. Par 5s are fine, top 30. He's 48th in approach, so I mean, it's decent. It's not good, but it's above field average. Now he does struggle with off the tee when it's easy, and he doesn't get a lot of eagles. It's surprising to see him at 200. His procs 200 plus is not the best, but yet his par 5s are fine. So at 7,000 and at 4.5%, it's worth a shot. It's worth a gamble, in my opinion. The last 7K I want to mention, Marty Doe, talked about him a little bit in the Korn Ferry Tour ranks, but I will mention Marty Doe. I think he could be interesting this week. I am saving the one low 7K play for that lineup that I mentioned in the intro, because that is where that lineup hinges. All right, and then finally in the 6Ks, I mean, again, I'll just get it out of the way. I mentioned it in the Korn Ferry Tour ranks. I'm back on the Augusto Nunez train. The metrics say he should be pretty good, at least from the Korn Ferry Tour. He hasn't played. He made the cut the first week, I think. He gets eagles. He's fine at getting eagles, which is a big part of the Shriners. Top 30 in Procs 200. The numbers say he should be good. So I'm back on the Augusto Nunez train. Probably will come back to bite me again, but I'm there. Let's see, other places like Chesson Hadley we talked about. There's Carl Yuan, that's very, very interesting. He's less than 1% right now. I think he is very, very interesting this week. Brendan Todd, if you want to believe in the putting, although he has been awful at this event. Your fellow contestants are coming down to Chris Goddard at 8%. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. He's almost top 30 in my rankings. Okay. I can't disagree with him, but that's a lot of percentage. If I'm trying to come into the 6Ks, I'm going to try to be unique. Eckroat, somebody else that I talked about in the Korn Ferry Tour rankings, give him a look. Really, there's not a whole lot in the 6Ks that I really, really like, other than Augusto Nunez, and I'm not going to go there very often, but I will. Otherwise, I'm in the 68, 69, 7,000s area, bottoming out. You can take a look at James Hahn, I suppose. He's not the best with the metrics, but he's played this event fairly well. So, nothing to sneeze at there. Matt Wallace, somebody else to take a look at. He's at 6.5%, so he's not as unique as you might think, but he has played this event extremely well. The birdies are better is an issue, but he destroys par 5s, which is what you have to do here at the Shriners. He's also very, very good at par 4s from 400 to 450. Take a look at Matt Wallace as well if you are dipping into the 6Ks. All right, so let's start building some lineups, but before we do that, for any players or people that are tiers players, again, not my specialty, but I will give you what I see. Tier 1, Patrick Cantlay, Max Homa, Sungjae. You remove Max Homa and then pick one. I don't know. Me personally, I think I would pick Patrick Cantlay, but I don't think you could go wrong with either of those two. Tier 2, Aaron Wise, Tom Kim, Taylor Montgomery, Emiliano Grillo, and Alex Noren. Well, no thank you on Noren. In a tiers contest, I'm probably avoiding Taylor Montgomery, which means between Grillo, Wise, and Tom Kim, I'm probably going to take Tom Kim, knowing that I'll be very chalky. I mean, both of these guys are very chalky in Tier 1. Tom Kim's probably going to be the most chalky option in Tier 2, but I think he's the safest. If you're looking for pure upside, take a look at Aaron Wise. Grillo's fine. Montgomery's probably fine. But I think the safe play is Tom Kim. Tier 3, you got Cam Davis, Tom Hoagie, Brian Harman, and Siwoo. Again, I think the best play is Cam Davis, but that is 3 straight tiers where it's a very, very chalky pick. Take a look at Siwoo. He's interesting in tiers because he'll be very, very unique. But I think I'm going Brian Harman for the combination of uniqueness and what the analytics, or at least my analytics, say. So I'll take Brian Harman, but the best play is probably Cam Davis. Tier 4. Get my big head out of the way. Taylor Pendrith, Dean Burmester, Denny McCarthy, JT Poston, Christian Bezuidenhout, Maverick McNeely, and Thomas Detry. Detry is fine. Pendrith is fine. Give me Burmester. McCarthy's fine. For that matter. But give me Dean Burmester. I think he'll be pretty unique, and I think this will be a pretty big tournament for him. Tier 5. Keith Mitchell, Mito, Ricky Fowler, KH Lee, Adam Hadwin, Taylor Moore, and Seamus Power. By default, it's Taylor Moore. I do not like anybody else really in this tier. If you want to go with putting, take a look at Adam Hadwin. KH Lee, okay. Ricky, I mean, yeah, he played extremely well at the Fortinet, and then just string quite a few events in a row. Just string them together, and then I'll believe in you again. Mito, I'm just off of. If you have a strong feeling about Mito using, but I'm going Taylor Moore by default. And then Tier 6, Ben On, Harris English, Callum Tarrant, MJ Defoe, Brendan Todd, James Hahn, and Scott Piercy. Again, like Brendan Todd's interesting for the putting if you want to go that route, but I'm going to go to Callum Tarrant. Not a lot in Tier 6. All right, there is a look at tiers lineups. Let's start making some contests. Let's start making some lineups for these contests. All right, we get situated here. Reminder: if you see the fingers typing, it's just the way I have my area laid out here. All right, so if we're going to be building these chalky lineups that your fellow contestants are making, we have to decide if they're going to go up in the price for Cantley or if they're going to settle for Sungjae. I say settle, but stay at the 10-4 for Sungjae. I'm going to try and build them a Patrick Cantley lineup. More than likely, it'll just be Sungjae, but Patrick Cantley, and we saw that they were bottoming out at Chris Gotterup. So with that, we got to see who, perhaps again in the low 7s, they could be coming to, and that's Callum Tarrant. They could go Lee Hodges as well, maybe Hayden Buckley, but I'm going to give them the cheapest one, that's Callum Tarrant. And here, it kind of depends, do you think they have enough to fit a 9K? If they do, it's probably going to have to be a Cam Davis and Emiliano Grillo. I don't see them fitting Tom Kim and Cantley. Sungjae and Tom Kim, they could. I don't see them fitting Cantley and Tom Kim. So I'm going to try to give them Emiliano Grillo. Might have to come down off of that. In the mid 7s, you got Andrew Putnam. That's at 10%. Mark Hubbard's at 12.5%. Matthew Neesmith is at 14.5%. I like the player, but I don't know if I'm that high on him. And then at 83 is JT Poston. He's not getting a whole lot of love, but like Thomas Detry is at 79. So this is leaving a little bit of money on the table with the Patrick Cantley lineup. They are dipping into the 6Ks once, but you're at 14%, matching a big GPP event. So pretty darn chalky there. And then, of course, you have the 400 to play around with. Maybe they do come up to Wow, they can fit Tom Kim. Look at that, 14.5%. If they go Cantley and Tom Kim. If they go Sung Jae, they have quite a bit more flexibility. Chris Goddard, they had Chesson Hadley is a little bit more unique, but he's at the same price. I'm just trying to use some different names here. Sung Jae, now they have a lot of wiggle room. They could probably go something to the effect of Sung Jae, Cameron Davis, and maybe even into, well, there's not really a lot in the 8s. I would have said Taylor Pendrith, but that's going to be too much, I think. 7,400. You have a Stefan Jaeger that's at 9.5% here. 76 is Taylor Moore. He's getting some love. So there's like a 12, almost a 13%. And that's using Jaeger, who is probably not in a lot of those lineups, I wouldn't think. Taylor Moore is. Like Sung Jae, Cam Davis. And then they're, again, I hate to use the same names, but they're coming down to like Thomas Detry, maybe even Mito. They can definitely come off of Hadley now. Say like a Taylor Moore, and at 7,100 is Hayden Buckley, who's getting a lot of love. Like they could go Callum Tarrant again, or Lee Hodges. That's another 14.5%. These are the kind of lineups that you're seeing, or that you can expect in your big GPP contests if they're trying to use the obvious plays. So how do we go about that? Well, you got you start off, you got one choice to make. Are you going to use Cantley/M or are you not? Are you going to try to beat them, or are you going to use them and try to find uniqueness elsewhere? One of the ways that I've been trying to find uniqueness is that I am skipping Cantley and M. And I've been starting my team with, say, like honestly, I've been fine with starting a Cameron Davis. But, absolutely you can go Grillo Davis, Taylor Montgomery, Grillo, Wise, and Davis, just mixing up the 9Ks quite a bit. And then I mentioned how I've been going into the 8s for my uniqueness. I'm really high on Brian Harmon. I really like Dean Burmester. And I have 2 players here that are under 10% projected own. I can grab a pretty chalky play if I think he's the best, like Thomas Detry. I can grab a Thomas Detry if I want to. And, I'm not going to be threatening being very, very chalky. But in the interest of being very unique, like I mentioned, Denny McCarthy should be pretty good this week, I would think. I'm still sitting at 7,500 per player. Let's see. I could go. He is the chalkiest of around here, but like Mark Hubbard would absolutely fit in this. And then 76 is Taylor Moore, and he is, again, very chalky. But I've just built a 10.5%, and that's using 2 very chalky options here. I've been constructing a lot of these kinds of lineups, knowing that I'm very high on Mark Hubbard, and I know he's going to be chalky. But if I can bottom my team out with Mark Hubbard, when a lot of my fellow contestants are going Cantley or M, or squeezing in a Wise, Grillo, Pendrith type lineup, I really feel like I am setting myself apart from them. But if we want to use, one of the 2 big guys, let's say we want to use Patrick Cantley. Well, I mentioned I'm back on the Nunez train, so it's guaranteed to fail again this week. But the numbers say you should be good. So this is clearly the start of a Stars and Scrubs type lineup. Take your choice here in the 9Ks. I'm going to use Taylor Montgomery just because we haven't really talked about him. He's the projected lowest owned, but he's still at 13%. But Taylor Montgomery, now you have to decide, do you want to try to squeeze in an 8, or are you comfortable going down into most of the sevens. I'm going to say, instead of Callum Tarrant, I'm going to say like Lee Hodges at 7K. There's quite a few players down here in the sevens, low sevens that you can look at. Marty Doe, fine speculation. Callum Tarrant's extremely chalky for the area, but good play. Lee Hodges, Robbie Shelton's somebody else that I like. Hayden Buckley as well. Like, here's a pure starters and scrubs type lineup. 9,000 is Tom Hoagie, which I'm not exactly the highest on, but a lot of people are playing him. Like, that's at 11, just over 11%. If I wanted to come down off of Hoagie, maybe I'd play a Taylor Pendrith. And then at 74 again is Mark Hubbard. Maybe you go like Ryan Palmer. He popped on a few of the metrics and filters that we talked about Monday night. I'm not in love with the play, but he is unique and he has some things going for him. But at the top of the show, I mentioned a crazy idea that you could fit the two most projected owned players. They're very expensive, and yet you wouldn't have to dip into the 6Ks and be somewhat unique. So let me show you what that asinine statement looks like. Two big guns, Patrick Cantlay and Sungjae. And understand, let me clarify. You are taking these two in the theory that you're going to be fairly unique in that regard from the start. A lot of your fellow contestants will have Cantlay or M. You are banking that not a lot of them will have Cantlay and M. So if they do, then this strategy could, I don't want to say backfire, but it certainly limits its upside if a lot of your fellow contestants go Patrick Cantlay, Sungjae M. I can't imagine them doing so, but it's possible. But this is where I am going if I'm trying to be ultra unique in the sense of, or at least hoping that I'm ultra unique in this regard, and then taking some shots. That's what it's going to take. It takes some shots. But depending on how chalky you want to get, you could absolutely use Callum Tarrant in this. I'm going to use the name Grayson Sigg. Again, he is the least owned of the 7Ks. He's got a lot going for him. Let me show you. And he's 19th in my data model. You see the par 4s, 400, 450, they're fine. Very good at the par 3s. Mentioned how he's bad at 200 plus, off the tee and eagles. But he's got this. Total procs and birdies are better when it's easy. He can go low. It's a shot, sure, but one that I'm absolutely willing to risk on. So Grayson Sigg. Then I'll come up to Hayden Buckley, and he is very chalky for his price. But is a player that I really, really like this week. And a lot of the analytics community, or at least the analytics community here at Fantasy National, really likes. Where is Buckley? There he is. Par 3 is fine. Top 5 in eagles. 6th and off the tee when it's easy. Now the putting is suspect. If he has a bad putting week, it could be an issue. You can say that about everybody, but I mean, there's a lot of cause for concern there. The approach, good. Top 25 in par 5s. There's a lot to like here with Hayden Buckley, so I'm going to use some Hayden Buckley. I got to find another 7,100, or I could do another 7,000 like Callum Tarrant. I'm trying to emphasize the uniqueness of it. So at 71, somebody else like Robbie Shelton, if you're willing to gamble on a Korn Ferry Tour grad. Justin Lauer here, top 25 in procs, top 20 in par 5s. You see the kind of players that I'm kind of gravitating towards if I'm taking, these shots, these dart throws, if you will. but I am going to go ahead and use probably Callan. It depends on, let's see how low I can get this ownership to go. Because I'm going to wait till reveal the one guy that I'm really high on in the bottom, or in the low sevens. Hayden Buckley, I'm going to clean this up here. Grayson Sig, yeah, I guess Callan. I don't know. Yeah, that's already pretty chalky. Damn it. Let's just use Justin Lauer at 71. So at 7,300, the name that I want to throw out at you all, and for you to consider very highly, this is one of the two players that I'm going to lose to this week. If this guy does not play well, I am going to lose. I love Troy Merritt this week. His putting on bent is phenomenal. He loves easy courses. First thing you see, par 4's awful. Not a resounding start for him. Par 3's fine. Prox 200, he's good. He's not great, he's not elite, he's good. Eagles, he'll get his fair share of eagles. Top 10, off the tee when it's easy. Par 4s, he's fine. He's not this bad of a putter, I'm telling you. He is not this bad of a putter. I'll bring up Fantasy National and look at Troy Merritt. And in calm winds, he's up here as well. Let's see. Hopefully you can see the bent. Yeah. He's not a bad bent putter. He's, almost 0.15 per round gaining strokes. It's not as bad. I mean, it's his worst surface, but he's not bad at it. So you take that. Oh, that's the Corn Ferry Tour ones. You take that 87th. I don't think he's 87th in this field. Good with the irons. Again, not great, but good. The par 5s are an issue, but remember, he was top 33 in Prox 200. So something's got to give there. 11th in total procs. 6th. Birdies are better when it's easy. Love Troy Merritt this week. And that is the person that this lineup is hinging around, where I can fit a Cantley and an M. I'm coming down to Troy Merritt at 73 and at less than 5% owned. It is still a little chalky, yes. I mean, you got Sungjae and Cantley. But again, I prefaced it all by saying you are banking on being unique in the sense that you're putting both of them together. But that is the lineup that I was referencing at the beginning of the show that I've been toying around with. Now, I said that you didn't have to dip into the 6Ks. I'm absolutely dipping into the 6Ks in this lineup. I was just showing you this, that you didn't have to. But somebody that I'm very, very high on is Carl Yuan. Less than 1% owned. I think he's going to be pretty good this week. You still have the Troy Merritt. I'll say Callan Tarrant. He's the best play of that 7Ks, I think. And then Hayden Buckley. Again, just realize I'm taking two chalky players here. I'm still at 11.3 with those two. You can absolutely come off of Callan Tarrant, like if you like Grayson Sig enough. If you like, who was the 71? Justin Lauer. Now you're under 10%. You don't have to go into the 6Ks, but this is the kind of lineup that I'm willing to gamble with on Carl Yuan, on Marty Doe. I didn't mention Justin Suh tonight, but I think he'll be good this week. So there is some ideas for your lineups or players to consider as you are maneuvering through the price board this week for the Shriners. But put it in the comments. What kind of wagers do you have this week? What kind of lineups are you building? Are you going to choose to use Cantley and M and try to find uniqueness elsewhere? Or are you going to be unique in the sense that you're not going to use them and focus in the 9Ks? Like I said, what kind of wagers do you have? What are you looking forward to? Do you think Patrick Cantlay and Sungjae's dominance continues here? Be interested to hear from you all on that. P, thanks for jumping in chat and again letting me know about the broken link for Discord. Hoping that has been fixed, but much appreciative to you for checking on that. Thanks to everybody who tunes in and watches, listens, and supports the channel. I really appreciate it. I enjoy what I do, and I'm hoping that I give you something that you can use when building your lineups or when making your wagers. So thanks again for all of the wagers you have made this week for the Shriners, for all of your DFS contests that you've entered this week at the Shriners, for this weekend and every weekend. May all your bets be profitable.